Saban smiling like a Cheshire cat after one of the bigger wins of the year, holding off Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels at the wire. Blake Toddmeyer saying Ole Miss cannot lose Lane Kiffin. Not when the Rebels are this close. Do you agree? Not everyone at once.
Let's go to Arkansas, where they're entering Ole Miss week, hoping for a healthy KJ Jefferson. And the good news for the Razorbacks, Sam Pittman said today he anticipates Jefferson will return to practice this week and will play on Saturday. Jefferson missed last week's LSU game due to a shoulder injury. Without him, the Razorbacks totaled just 249 yards of offense.
Obviously very explosive on offense, running the ball as good as anybody in the SEC. Pretty balanced still, though, with about 265, about 225, somewhere in there. Very explosive, have great skill. Mingo, Judkins, the running back, Dart. I mean, really fine talent. Skill-wise, and I mean that's not saying Heath, Watkins. I mean they've got really good wideouts. Defensively disruptive. Run a 3-2-6. Can get after the quarterback. Have been blitzing more of late. I think more in the run for the run game, trying to slow down opponents' runs against them. But they're playing extremely well. Obviously lost a close game Saturday, but they play extremely hard, well coached. We are looking forward to having a night game here. I think it's our first. I think it's our first night game of the year. I know it is our first night game at home, and we're looking forward to another opportunity. I felt like over the last 6 quarters, game and a half, that we have played like, I'm talking about chasing the ball, the physicality. We played like we did what I thought our first 2 years were. I can't, I don't know why we didn't earlier. I think a lot of it has to do with we might not have been comfortable with the guys around us because there was a lot of shuffling going on, but regardless, we're playing much better now, and we've got to get another. We've got to win, and our kids. You kind of saw from, the loss at Liberty, the way that they played. I thought. Was really good, and I think we're just playing faster. We're swarming the ball better, and we're getting after the quarterback a lot better.
Always one of the issues, with you play the game, and when you lose, you got to deal with that Saturday and Saturday night, and you got to watch it as a staff Sunday, so you relive it, and then you got to watch with your players Monday morning, relive it, and you want to move on, and then you got to come here. So, to recap it. As you guys know, in here you saw I was very frustrated after the game, and I think that just, explaining to the players today, I think that's a thing about experience, and as you get older, just understanding, just like you do with your own children, like they don't usually understand what they're going through and what that moment is and how rare that moment may be. So I was just frustrated for our players to be that close, to have the ball in your hands against Alabama, controlling the outcome. If you take some time off the clock and score, you beat Alabama, and that's a rare thing. I told them today, I was in that situation 13 years ago, ball in our hands at Tennessee, going down to kick a field goal to beat Alabama. So it doesn't happen very often, so that's why there was a lot of frustration in it, and probably with what they say with the SEC scheduling change coming up, we're not going to play them. Ole Miss and Alabama's not going to play every year, so even less chance for those things to happen.
Looking ahead to Arkansas a little bit, you guys played a pretty crazy game last year, the 52-51 game. What do you remember from that game just as a coach?
It's a reminder to me that every game's independent of a different game. The year before had been low scoring. We really struggled against that defense and would not have predicted a high scoring game, 100 points between the two. So every game's different, every week's different, and that's just a really good reminder. Just like you can go into a game and look at LSU and Arkansas, and most people would have said, okay, well, that's probably going to be lopsided based off of what had happened the week before, Liberty versus Alabama outcomes. So it just shows you every week's different and every game's different.
Ole Miss at Arkansas, Ole Miss coming off of a brutal
similar
loss.
reasons. Yeah. I could see that one maybe. The hard part with Arkansas, the wild card is, KJ Jefferson go, KJ Jefferson no. And if he's not out there, and watching them a week ago, that matters quite a bit. And especially, as you mentioned, so Ole Miss, you come so close, and that was obviously a difference maker in the SEC West. But I do think it seems like that team, even though they've had close wins, right? You think about a Kentucky game, but they're still able to kind of persist, play well. They've stubbed their toe, obviously, this season versus a good football team twice now. But to me, Ole Miss is a far more stable football team, one that's more focused than I ever thought would be accomplished, given how it was put together. Because it's not a true portal team, but about as close to a portal team. It's definitely the most extensively assembled portal-based team in the Southeastern Conference. And for them to be performing at such a high level, surprising.
The polls remember in November, and Ole Miss is playing for multiple opportunities today against Alabama.
Young throwing, caught, touchdown, Cameron Latu.
Makes it 3rd down and 18. Here comes Dallas Turner. Oh, a wicked face mask. It'll be a 1st down, and we hope Dart's okay.
Quick pass, Domingo, he's got it. He steps in the end zone. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
Young bounce to his right, he'll roll. He will pump fake, he'll throw it. Back of the end zone, catch made. Brooks, touchdown, Alabama.
4th and 14 from the Alabama 20. Looking, firing, up in the air, knocked away, incomplete, and Alabama turns away the Rebels.
Ball in our hands to win, so we didn't do it. We're really ashamed.
In Fayetteville, Lane Kiffin and company come to town, hoping to bounce back after last week's loss versus the Tide. Superstar freshman running back Quinshon Judkins was dominant once again, adding 2 more rushing TDs and taking over the SEC rushing lead. Well, Hogs are hoping to turn kind of a disappointing season into hog heaven with a trip to a bowl game, but with 2 games left and injuries under center, Razorback fans maybe a little bit worried. Randy, this season they had high hopes going into it, and unfortunately it's kind of been a disappointing one for them. But maybe this upset on Saturday can make them happy.
Maybe that's the difference, for Sam Pittman and company. You started out so well. What was that stat? 184 games or 184 games without consecutive losses for Alabama. That's kind of been Arkansas's year. I mean, you won 3, then you lost 3. Then you won 2, then you lost 2. It's been that inconsistency. You go down the stats all you want. They score 30 a game, but they're giving up 29 a game. They're 5-5. They're -2 in turnover ratio. The numbers are not good for Sam Pittman. This game would mean the world to them. And this is one of those games, you look at Ole Miss and Arkansas, it used to be Thanksgiving, and it was a huge deal. And I think it's still a huge deal to these programs.
Well, there's no inconsistency when it comes to Ole Miss. Their defense is always bad. And that's the reason they lost again last week. The offense is there. They can produce numbers, put up points. But the defense, they can't stop anyone, especially in the second half of that ball game last week. But Judkins, as you mentioned, Ashley, phenomenal season for the young lad.
Positive or negative, Arkansas is going bowling. In order to do this, they are going to have to win the final 2 games of the season, including Ole Miss this weekend.
So including Ole Miss this weekend, that one's going to be tough. It is at home. But also going on the road to Missouri. We saw what happened to Georgia on the road against Missouri. They won, but that game was a struggle. I've been to Missouri a lot. That was last season. I was there almost every weekend. It felt like it's freezing there. Not that Arkansas isn't used to cold, but being on the road at Missouri, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about Arkansas going bowling.
Let me correct myself. I said they need to win out. They actually need one more win. They're at 5. So how do we feel now? Positive or negative about one more win?
I think they can get one more because they're going to be so motivated to get to a bowl.
Sure.
But I'm not going to lie, Alyssa, the team looks banged up right now. And no matter what your motivation is, no matter what your intentions are, it's hard to execute when you're banged up. And I feel like that's going to be a big factor.
I think it's a really important point to make for this Arkansas team. All 3 of their non-conference games were ranked opponents for the first time in program history. So typically when your team is going through these non-conference games, you have an opportunity to rest your starters, maybe even rest your second string guys and get some of those third string, not burn a red shirt guys in to get those valuable reps. Instead, they've been in these non-conference games down the stretch into the 3rd and 4th quarter. So to your point about this team being banged up, every single one of their starters has played more reps than arguably many teams across the SEC for that reason. So I'm with you. I think if they get the win, Missouri is the one I'm circling a little bit more, just because I think Ole Miss is a team that is on a roll and has a plan going into Arkansas. I feel like maybe Missouri's the better matchup for this Arkansas team, but it's going to be challenging with these final 2.
It's an intriguing game over in Fayetteville. Both of these teams coming off losses. Of course, we talked about LSU in Arkansas over in Fayetteville. But for Ole Miss, right, Quinshon Judkins has 15 touchdowns. He's been fantastic. Rocket Sanders has been great. Which one of these teams do you trust more coming off a tough loss?
Well, I don't think you can trust Arkansas given what we've seen, for a larger sample size of the season at this point. I do think that they had their best defensive performance of the season. Barry Odom looked like he got that side of the ball looking more like last year against LSU, limiting Jaden Daniels to under 100 yards passing, 7 sacks that they were able to generate. So they tackled better. They got pressure up front a little bit better. But I think in terms of what I trust more, probably I trust that Ole Miss running game given what I've seen for the entirety of the season to this point.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Now, I think this game hinges on whether or not KJ Jefferson plays. I do think he plays. Sam Pittman has been pretty vocal about that in the media this week.
But what KJ do we get?
But right, is it 65%? Is it 70%?
The KJ against Liberty was not an effective KJ at all. But I mean, behind him, Malik Hornsby has the athleticism, but we haven't necessarily seen consistent.
They're one-dimensional at that point. Yeah. Cade Fortin he looked okay, but again, this has everything to do on whether or not KJ Jefferson on senior night. Which again, I think KJ Jefferson actually has. Does he have?
They all have eligibility.
You're, of course, on the call tomorrow night for Ole Miss and Arkansas. Speaking of Ole Miss, that's the name that so many people are associating with this job. Do you detect anything in your conversations with the Ole Miss staff this week, or do you think they would be able, or Lane Kiffin would be able to hide that pretty well, having been down this road before?
Paul, are you asking me if I can get a read on Lane Kiffin by sitting down and speaking with him?
I'm hoping.
Because I think you know the answer to that. It's absolutely not. Or yeah, you get a read that also includes 99 other reads of other things that Lane Kiffin might be thinking about. I think he's focused on this game. I think he was absolutely laser focused for 2 weeks on Alabama, and I think that's one that took him a little while to get over with. He stated that to us in our meetings. He wants to do something for the second consecutive year that had never been done at Ole Miss before his tenure began, and that's win 10 football games in a regular season. And I think he understands that this is a good team that he has. It's one that has a chance to finish strong. And regardless of what he decides to do down the road, he wants to make the best of what he has right now for his players. And he is Lane Kiffin is a guy with all the social media stuff and all the offense and the guru of this, that, whatever. He's someone who greatly cares about his players, and he wants good things and great things for them. So I have no read on what his future may be from him and sitting down and visiting with him. And I'm not sure that even if I did have one, that wouldn't be intentional by him to try to lead me off in 4 or 5 other different directions. So I think he wants to go win this football game. He's focused on that, and he knows it's going to be tough. I mean, we're going to come into Fayetteville tomorrow, and the temperature at kickoff is going to be around 22 degrees. And he admitted to us that his brain slows down the colder it gets. So I hope his friends at Realtree have a lot of gear for him to stay warm, because it's going to be maybe the coldest game he's ever coached in.
Okay, I'll quit complaining about the weather here in the high 40s. And now that you've told me 22 degrees at kickoff, that is insane.
Maybe 20.
I don't know what's happening.
We walked out there. Paul, we walked out there today on the field, and there was snow on the field. So ice, snow, whatever you want to call it, on the field, standing here in Fayetteville. It was 31 today when we were out there. We were out there for about 15 minutes, and Tom and I had already had enough. He and Jordan decided to do the game from the sideline with me tomorrow. I have no idea why. I guess they were looking for some sort of self-punishment. And by what I see right now, it's going to be around 20 degrees at kick. So no telling what it's going to be towards the end of the game. I bought a wetsuit for this game. I mean, I'll show you right here. Like, you'd think I'm going scuba diving. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of shows you what we're dealing with here for this game tomorrow night.
Cole, when you check into this hotel you're at in Fayetteville, do they give you the choice of drapes, or does that come with the room?
I actually asked for that, just like I asked for the hog up here on the wall right there. I don't know who this guy is over here with the old flying glasses on. He made an appearance. Yeah, we got a Christmas parade going outside the hotel. They have all the streets blocked. I was going to go do this interview from the stadium, and I couldn't even get out of the hotel. So I'm stuck here for about another 10 hours, I think.
We have Ole Miss coming off the Alabama loss, traveling to Arkansas. Tough loss to LSU. Another same theme, cold environment in Fayetteville.
You know, I thought last week we saw something from Arkansas. The defense looked much better than they had at any point in the previous, 9 or 10 games. Barry Odom had a great plan for how to defend Jaden Daniels in that LSU offense. They were able to get 7 sacks. I thought that they tackled a lot better. They didn't give up the big passing plays. So I expect Arkansas's defense to build on that this week. We all know that the constant here from Ole Miss all year long has been their ability to run the football. I think Barry Odom dials up a game plan and tries to take away that run as much as possible. Force Jackson Dart to beat you. The passing game has not been all that consistent. They didn't necessarily light it up throwing the football last week against Alabama. In fact, I thought the best play for them downfield throwing the football was the back shoulder throw to Malik Heath down the sideline in a lot of cases, but really didn't do a very good job of protecting up front at all. I've been pretty critical of that offensive line in pass protection for a lot of the season. And that same issue kind of rose its head in the second half of the game against Alabama last week. They don't handle twists very well. They're not all that athletic on the edges and the tackle positions. They don't get great help from the running backs in pass protection either. So I believe that Arkansas is going to take away that run as much as possible, and they're going to be able to get after Jackson Dart. I'm picking them, even though it's not a huge underdog situation for the Hogs, I'm picking them to pull the upset.
And another stadium that's going to need to be in the game is down in Fayetteville, Arkansas, as Ole Miss heads to face the Hogs. You're calling the game. Why should Ole Miss be on alert?
Because it's going to be cold. We saw, and I'm being honest, though. We saw what happened last week with LSU. A little bit of a hangover from Alabama. It was cold. It was an early kick. Look, I mean, us pretty quarterbacks, and I'm talking about Tim sitting next to me, we don't like to play in the cold. And one interesting part of that is a lot of Ole Miss's pass game is built on the RPO. We were talking about earlier. Much harder to throw that ball with no laces when it's cold. Right? So one little element there. But Arkansas is a physical team. KJ should be back, should be healthier. He adds a different element. So it's a scary game for Ole Miss.
And I think because of the weather, you'll see both of these teams that are running first teams even try to emphasize that much more in this game. And I really think a key to this game is how healthy is KJ. Because this isn't a guy that, all of a sudden I run a 4-3 and I run around people.
Because at Liberty he was out there, not healthy,
not the same.
Not himself.
This is a dude that he wants to go 4 yards in a cloud of dust over and over and over again. That'll wear you down.
Very Tim Tebow-like when he runs.
Tebow went 40, man. Come on.
No, very 14. Tim Tebow-like when the run game. He is. But I think Arkansas has a chance, and Ole Miss better watch out because Barry Odom really showed his hand last week that when he gets these teams that are hot or think they're better than where they are, I can come up with a brand new game plan and give you some different wrinkles that's going to really slow down your offense and give my team a chance to win. What Arkansas was missing last week was explosive offense. They didn't get that. They will have a chance to make those plays if KJ's lining up at quarterback, and that's all you need is a chance on the road in the SEC.
430 yards. When Arkansas have more than 430 yards, they're undefeated. When they've had less than 430 yards on offense, they don't ever win. So it seems pretty obvious to me.
430.
431.
You got to gain yards to win.
431.
Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
And they need it. I mean, Arkansas started so strong, and we were all so bullish on what they were doing down there, and it's been a rough go here lately.
I don't think it's as bad as people think, man. They have a really hard schedule. I agree, but it's just I still think they're a program that is improving. They have such a hard schedule. Look at who they played, right? Like Cincinnati's getting so much love. They're 25. Arkansas beat them week 1. BYU on the road. Like, this is a team that I still think we need to understand. They've had a really hard schedule, but they're a team that is a very good football team.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to watch.
Hog fans hoping to call the Hogs to a win that would get them bowl eligible against Lane Kiffin and company. And with that, it's time for Fansville, presented by Dr. Pepper. They own the series history in Fayetteville. They're 12-2 all-time there against the Rebs. And with the defense playing the way it did last week, they may just have a shot to make it 13-2. What they did against LSU was remarkable. From a defense that ranks near the bottom of the league in defensive efficiency. They held LSU to 13 points and under 300 yards, both season lows allowed by Arkansas. Also, they sacked Jaden Daniels 7 times. So, Takio, what did you see in that game that allowed Arkansas to be as good defensively as they were?
They understood tendencies. They understood what Barry Odom was trying to teach them the entire year. Enough of me talking about it. Let's go to the tape and let's get a bigger look at exactly what happened. 2nd and 11, Jaden Daniels identifies 3 defensive linemen down on the line of scrimmage. Right there, he knows, even if they brings one more guy, you know what? I'm not worried because my protection is set. So let Jaden Daniels send a little eye candy coming across just for a little distraction. And when the eye candy comes across, I want you to pay attention to these 2 guys right here. Right? These 2 guys, they don't blitz before. They don't tip it off. They wait until the ball is snapped, meaning blitzing from depth, and this is what happens. They catch LSU by surprise, especially Chris Johnson. And look, this is the beautiful thing. The whole point is to get this guard in a 2-way go. I can go there, left or right, and when Chris Paul did that, he did a wonderful job, and this is exactly what happened. He whipped, came back with the sack. Jaden didn't know where to go with the ball because he didn't see that. Arkansas never showed that from the weeks prior. Let's go to another play. Late in the game, Arkansas 10, LSU 13. It's important to point out this. LSU is trying to run out the clock. 4th quarter, 2 minutes and 1 second left in the game. Now, they know when you have a compact formation, defensive 1-on-1, no receivers outside of the 2 right here, you know they have to run the ball. It's only 1 back in the backfield. As a linebacker, you're taught if it's 1 back in the backfield, if you get run, you have 1 gap to defend regardless. Watch Bumper Pool on this one. This is amazing. I love this. One of my favorite features right here. Bumper Pool recognizes only 1 back. Watch what he does at the snap of the ball. He comes in, shoots the gap, and this is a tackle for a loss. This is exactly what they were trying to do earlier in the season, but they pulled it off against LSU. It's the little things. Even throughout this entire game, defensive backs were in the right position, understanding where leverage, where to use your free safety. Dari, I got to tell you, by them continuing to play like this, they will take the next step. It's just a shame that it's late in the season.
Yeah, it is late in the season, but they still got plenty to play for. Takio, good stuff there. They're going against a team Saturday night that you don't necessarily love the way they protect Jackson Dart either. This could work well for us.
Yeah, you know what? We talked on our Wednesday night call about things we wanted to discuss and what I saw on tape. And I remembered early in the season that what I saw from the offensive line on Saturday against that Arkansas team was something we saw earlier in the season. That's offensive struggles up front. Let's take a look at the right side of the offensive line. They're going to face a simple TE twist here. And Will Anderson's a guy you got to be aware of. Not only does the offensive line not handle it well, running back doesn't step up well, and they got a deep over route that's going to be wide open, but with the pressure, Jackson Dart has to step up, throws the ball ill-advisedly into coverage. Luckily, it doesn't get picked. Now, the twist this time is to the left side of the offensive line. Again, do not handle it well. The running back wants no part of stepping up to help out with some of the leakage, and again, the pressure gets home. Jackson Dart not able to throw the football. Now, here, playing against athletic edge guys is difficult. this was just embarrassing. Now, fortunately for Ole Miss, Dallas Turner's face mask bails them out a little bit, but again, not good enough. And now this time, the one-on-one inside, a whiff. When you're on your knees facing the quarterback as an offensive lineman, that's not ideal.
Oh, no.
Now, the running back, it looked like he was trying to play tag, not wanting the defender to even touch him. He does a good job of that, but not a good job of protecting the quarterback. So, Dari, I have problems right now with this offensive line, the protection in general. If Barry Odom could put the plan together to stop the run and force Jackson Dart to have to throw the football to beat him, this could be a long afternoon or a long evening for the offense and the offensive line specifically.
So if I'm the quarterback and I'm looking at my offensive lineman who's staring me in the face while he's on his knees, that's a problem.
That is not good.
Okay.
No, it's good if he's going to be able to help you up quicker, but it's not good in terms of protection.
Yeah, because he's going to get you down quicker too, right? All right. Good stuff by both of you guys illustrating what you've illustrated. All right, back to Razorback Stadium for our primetime game Saturday night. It's the Hogs and Rebs. Hogs, at last check, anticipate KJ Jefferson coming back after missing last week's loss to LSU. Cole Kublik is there with more details on KJ.
Listen, we can talk about KJ Jefferson. He's going to be healthy as he's been in weeks. He's been practicing full go this entire week. Going to be big for the Razorbacks to have him back. Ole Miss looking for 10 wins in the regular season for the second consecutive year. Arkansas needs to get bowl eligible. You got an experienced group of linebackers. You got a weird defense for Ole Miss and how they move in and out of the box. Two great rushing attacks. But the reality is the conditions are going to be a part of this game. You can see the ice and the snow here on the ground. I mean, look at this. This is going to be a real part of what we got going in this game. Ball security going to be an issue, and just dealing with the conditions that are going to be in the 20s.
Start off with the dog of the week. Arthur, who do you like today?
Yeah, like all superstitious gamblers, Randy, he has not changed his outfit during this heater. Let's try to stay hot. He's a very sharp underdog player. He's going with a home dog. Can barely look. Arkansas +2. This is all about Ole Miss. Really in a tough situational spot. Off the big game against Alabama. Next week, the Egg Bowl. And I just don't know if they have the maturity to go in with a grinded out game against Arkansas. It's going to be really cold in Fayetteville. They're going to try to really just muck it up and grind out the game. So we'll take the home dog. Barkansas +2.
Barkansas. It's going to be 10 degrees, which is plenty warm for Arthur. That's 70 degrees.
You like cold games?
No.
You're going to one. How about this? Ole Miss trying to shake off Alabama loss, heads to Arkansas where game time temperatures, Jordan, when you'll be on the field.
Yeah, regrettably.
Only about 20 degrees. Critical game for Sam Pittman as he tries to undo the losses.
Y'all, there have been a lot of crazy games between Ole Miss and Arkansas. A lot of them, like a whole lot of them. Archie Manning threw for 273 yards and was responsible for 2 touchdowns in the 1970 Sugar Bowl as the Rebels beat number 3 Arkansas 27-22.
And let's be honest, throwing for that many yards back then was a lot.
What a beast. 2001, it took 7 overtimes to decide the winner. Eli Manning threw 6 touchdown passes, but 3 Arkansas players ran for 100+. And the Hogs won 58-56 when Ole Miss failed on a 2-point conversion. There was another thriller in 2015. Arkansas converted a 4th and 25 in overtime on Hunter Henry's lateral to Alex Collins, and the Hogs went on to win 53-52 on Brandon Allen's touchdown pass and 2-point conversion. And last year, the teams combined for 41 points in the 4th quarter, with Ole Miss hanging on for a 52-51 victory after stopping the Razorbacks' 2-point attempt after Arkansas scored with no time left on the clock. That was an all-timer. All right, let's head out to Fayetteville where our guys Tom Hart and Cole Kublik are going to give us a little preview. Take it away, fellas.
All right, thanks, guys. Going to be a chilly one in Fayetteville tonight. They haven't had a game this cold since the old Southwest Conference days, 1991 against Baylor. And we made the brilliant decision to all join Cole on the field for the coldest game of the year. What do we need to know to stay warm?
Neoprene, layers, and heat.
Yeah, heat. I need some heat. The heat for both of these teams comes from the running back position, 2,000-yard rushers, kind of fitting for the weather we're going to see.
No, I think you'll see a heavy load on the ground for both of these teams. It's going to be in the 20s, and if the wind picks up at all, that's going to affect the passing game even more. So I think Rocket Sanders' big game, obviously Quinshon Judkins' big game, because you're just not going to want to risk the ball security in maybe temperatures in the teens that comes with trying to throw the football around.
A lot of rumors swirling around Lane and the Auburn job and what's next for his future as a coach. How do you keep those distractions from impacting your team?
I just think you address them and be honest with your team right off the bat that you're focused on this game. What you do down the road has nothing to do with it. You want to go out and try to win this game right now. They're looking for 10 wins in consecutive seasons. He was the first one to ever do it in a regular season. He wants to be able to do it 2 years in a row.
All right. 2 words for you tonight, Jordan. Long Johns. Pack them. Let's go.
We'd like to thank our great partnership with Wheels Up, helping get Jordan from here in Columbia to the frozen tundra of Frank Broyles Stadium later today. He'll be on the call tonight with those two jokers.
Long Johns are already on board.
We're going to break this down, man, but dude, you're going to freeze your rear end off.
Yeah, it's going to be real cold. Cole texted me yesterday, said don't underestimate it. I didn't have any socks at that point, so Cole picked me up some socks, so it should be an interesting
And he's usually like a cold coffee guy, so you can't even have your coffee that warms you up.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But a great game.
Tough day.
It is going to be a great game, but Ole Miss should be on high alert here.
Absolutely.
Why should they be on high alert?
Well, we saw what happened last week when LSU went into Fayetteville. It was an 11 o'clock kick. It was a cold game, maybe a little bit of a hangover for LSU. But this Arkansas team, they're so much more physical the last couple of weeks, and Barry Odom is dialing up a ton more pressure. But I think it really comes down to, for Ole Miss, running the football is obviously what they do. Quinshon Judkins, one of the best in the entire country. But we saw at the end of last week, when he gets tired and when he's the only one, they don't really have any other options. Zach Evans went out of last week with a concussion. They expect him to be back, but if he's not, I think it's a problem for Ole Miss because Quinshon, the way he runs, the physicality, how up-tempo this offense is, they need a guy to spell him a little bit. So I think that's an important thing to watch. Also, it gets cold. This Ole Miss team is not a drop-back pass, but they're an RPO team. And anytime you're pulling that out of the belly of the running back with no laces, that gets a little sketchy as well. So this might just be a ground-and-pound 2-hour and 45-minute game, which I'm all for. But it's going to come down to who can win the physicality battle between the tackles.
You want to see those guys run the football tonight, bro.
Yeah. Dial it up, man.
Keep that clock rolling.
So, sorry, Jordan, that was really funny because, I mean, who doesn't want a short game when it's cold? So, I look at this. The thing that really stands out to me is Ole Miss is only 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
And it's as good as Ole Miss has been all year long, it really kind of makes you raise an eyebrow. And it really has to go back to the defense that what Jordan was hitting on. Barry Odom showed us last week that when it comes down to it, he can draw up a brand new game plan versus any team and give you different looks that you haven't seen and throw you off your game. That's what they did last week versus LSU. I'm looking forward to Arkansas flying around. They still don't tackle great. But when you play with a whole bunch of effort and you got guys flying around trying to hit people, it makes up for all your mistakes in front of you, and that they're going to give these guys different looks all day and make Ole Miss try and beat them throwing the football, taking away the run game from Quinshon Judkins. If they do that, they're going to be a lot better. And if KJ Jefferson is back, it gives them a whole dynamic and offensively that makes them look completely different.
Yeah, I just think it's a completely different team if KJ Jefferson is playing.
1,000%.
Not just because you have a veteran that has a lot of experience, but his style of play wears down a defense, and they're going to go right at him, especially when it's cold. And if Ole Miss doesn't really want to be there and they're disappointed from last week, all of a sudden you start getting pounded. It's a disappointing feeling. And KJ, that's what he does so well. We remember being around this dude week 1, and you were like, what?
Yeah.
This guy is a big boy. That is a load to tackle over and over and over again. If he's healthy, it's a different Arkansas team.
Marty, I'm really interested in the coaching matchup here. You heard Hart relate to Lane, but to me, the pressure is on Sam Pittman. He's got to figure out a way to save this season. Mm-hmm. Remember, back at Media Days, we were talking Arkansas. Could they be the third or maybe the fourth best team in the SEC? So there's no way to scrape away the disappointment, but a win here and then follow it with Missouri next week could salve some of those wounds.
Some guys try to be super tough in the elements, and they go like sleeveless or shirtless in warm-ups. Go long underwear, man. Be smart.
I'm going to double,
that's what
triple.
you did today, right?
Absolutely, man. I have on more layers. I'm like
it's only like 50 degrees.
I'm like the kid from Christmas Story. I can't even bend my knees, elbows.
Our friend over here, Frank, gave me this. And, put this in your pocket.
Throw that over here, Paul.
Another way to keep warm.
There you go. Put that in your.
Noted.
That'll get that body tempo.
Bullet. Okay.
Ole Miss at Arkansas. Considering what we showed earlier about the history, what I'm about to say is going to sound patently ridiculous, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is a sandwich game. And what I mean by that is Ole Miss played Alabama last week. They have the Egg Bowl on Thursday night, and as much as they care about the rivalry, they're going to lose tonight.
Oh, there we go. Paul, fire. Uh-oh.
Wow.
Let's go Razorbacks.
19 of 14 SEC teams already won 6 games, so they're bowl eligible. With 2 regular season games remaining, Texas A&M, the only school that will not make it to 6 games this season. All right. So we have some teams. We have some teams right on the cusp, guys. Let's start with Arkansas, currently 5-5. Timmy, do they make a bowl?
This is a tough one because they've got 2 conference games, but I'm gonna say yes. I think they're gonna get one of them. I don't know if it's going to be this week, but I think next week against Missouri, it's a little bit of a better chance. But I think you got the chance to win one of the 2.
Well, Tim, you're clearly wrong. Paul was right. Arkansas is going to have to win this week because next week they face the Missouri Tigers. And Missouri's definitely getting in. We all understand what it's like to play a home game, Missouri's last home game. All the seniors get to collect a rock if they win that game. Mevis, the kicker, has done it before. They will win that game and clinch a berth.
I mean, how much improves Missouri?
I love you, man. Proud of you. Let's go get bowl eligible. No, hell, you did more than I did. You did more for me than I ever could for you. Love you.
Kind of feels like Sam Pittman is built for this weather. And these 2 offenses that we'll see tonight, a couple of 1,000-yard rushers, they're built for this football weather. And Jordan Rodgers, Ole Miss has a good one. The SEC.
Now entering Razorback Stadium, please adore Arkansas.
Set to kick off for the Razorbacks.
Dart under center. Jet sweep. Ball on the ground. Arkansas scoops it up.
Absolutely huge play here by Arkansas. It's the exchange. Dayton Wade coming across on the jet motion, not expecting that to hand off. A lot of times Ole Miss has a read on almost every single play, so Jackson Dart can give it to Dayton Wade. He can keep it. Obviously some miscommunication there. Let's see if he stays put.
Dart looking to throw, has plenty of time. He's got all day, and now he's going to let one go, and it is incomplete.
Here, and he's a big part of this offense. And in here on 3rd and long, let's see if KJ looks his way.
He's pressured. Jefferson steps away from it, gets it away for a first down. Trey Knox with the grab. 2 1,000-yard rushers in the SEC coming into the weekend, both featured in this game. Jefferson. Great grab by Knox again, and he will rumble down for another Arkansas first down.
I can help this team out, and he really has at that tight end position.
Jefferson escapes trouble and right through traffic like running down Dixon at midnight, and he's finally forced out of bounds. Knox has been huge this drive. Jefferson, end zone, caught, and an Arkansas touchdown for Matt Landers. Yard strike for KJ Jefferson, and Landers with his 5th touchdown of the season. And what a difference. Another toss to Judkins, and he's brought down the gang of Razorbacks. Dart, quarterback Keep took a monster hit. That's a loss of 1. Will leave 3rd and long.
Dynamite for this Arkansas defense, playing downhill early, even outside the tackle box on the perimeter. That's on right there in the B gap.
Quickly to Judkins and nothing doing. Cedric Johnson back in the game. 44 snaps last week against LSU. They want him on the field more. Jefferson steps up in the pocket. And he's able to get away for a catch, a dance, and a first down for Rocket Sanders. They brought Sanders in motion. Pressure from the right. Jefferson over the middle again. And that is held for a first down by Ketron Jackson.
Because Young was right in there on that one.
Rocket Sanders spits free. He's got it inside the 30. And that's a 22-yard gain before Cedric Johnson finally found him. Jefferson lobs it in zone over the shoulder. It's Matt Landers again. Touchdown Arkansas again. Willie Mays in center field.
That was a great catch. It was an RPO, so a run-pass option there. KJ pulls it down. A lot of times you see quick dart throws on that one. That time, the trust in his receiver and put that one right in the breadbasket. And such a difficult catch for a receiver over his shoulder like that.
I'm surprised you're talking about the catch. The throw.
And in the game, Casey Kelly there.
Here's Evans, and he gets bottled up. Loss of 1. Getting a little tricky here. Dayton Wade. And Arkansas's defense comes up with another big play. Play clock at 3. Dart leaves a pocket. Incomplete. Trying to find Evans. 34th consecutive start for Latham tonight. Here's Sanders again. Hesitates, finds a hole, and a burst and another sidestep. And Rocket Sanders flexing on Ole Miss tonight. Arkansas missed last game with a right shoulder injury. Pressure from the right side. He evades it. Now he's got the sideline. And KJ Jefferson's going to scramble for a monster game on 3rd down.
Boy, he looks healthy, huh?
Yeah.
Can be so successful. It was pretty apparent.
He threw for 367 in that trip to Provo against Utah. They put it in the air 40 times that night. Now back to corner of the end zone. Bobble. And hung on. Ketron Jackson with the touchdown catch.
Great job. It's just one-on-one with DeAndre Prince, Ole Miss's best cover guy. I mean, it's a little contact with the left, but I'm not sure if it was a shove, was it? You don't want to lead him too far upfield. You don't want to throw a back shoulder because of where Ketron is, so he's a great job of throwing a touch ball with just a little bit of air. Not so much air that the cornerback has time to react. Great ball, great location for KJ Jefferson.
KJ Jefferson 9 of 12 to start this game. There's a pylon cam look. What a beautiful catch. Took a little extra for the sophomore from Royce City, Texas. His 3rd touchdown catch of the season.
I have my biases.
On 2nd and 10, Dart pressured, and they'll collapse on him. No gain. More dad jokes from Cole. You should write a book. Little toss setting up the screen and room for Hazelwood. Jaden Hazelwood.
Ole Miss back in 11 personnel with the tight end on the field.
Dart, deep drop, lets it go. Corner of the end zone, and it is knocked away. And McLaughlin, the LSU transfer.
To the right side of the field, so he was a little late getting back to this throw. He ended up having to throw with less air than he wanted to, trying to be more perfect there. If he would have got it up earlier.
Sanders again. That hole was a little bit bigger and he created some more space. Rocket Sanders was a great basketball player in high school before he decided to focus entirely on football.
It's a really fun back to watch.
He's got a phone call from McFadden. He said, just keep doing your thing. Here's that thing. And it's a first down run for Rocket Sanders and a pickup of 15. Cold. There is no wind. There's no precipitation. And there's Rocket Sanders. And he is taken off again. Great downfield blocking. Touchdown, Arkansas. Just keep feeding him, right? Yeah. And there he is again. Now Rocket Sanders picks up 8. And Lane pregame insisted that there wasn't carryover from Alabama, but it certainly looks like there is. Here's Sanders carrying the load for Arkansas. Got his touchdown from 20 yards out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With the tight end, if you want to count 8. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Ole Miss defenders in the box. Plain and simple, Arkansas's got the numbers here. Sam Pittman told us about it in the meetings. It's not hard. I talked to Cody Kennedy, the offensive line coach, about it pregame. He said, listen, man, if we've got the numbers, we've got to run the football. That's a perfect example right there of Arkansas having more blockers, more bodies than the Ole Miss defense can account.
Second quickest offense. Oh, picked off! What a play by Drew Sanders! Drew Sanders, the Alabama transfer, showed up in town, put in a brand new position. Mikey Shear, his
So Jackson Dart never saw Drew Sanders sitting right in that window for the slant because his eyes were outside watching the man-to-man coverage.
This guy was playing defensive end at Alabama. Over the middle, and a big gain for Hazelwood. Gain of 18. Ketron Jackson in motion. Little pitch. Here's Rocket Sanders, and there's a lot of room. He's got a first down, and that'll stop the clock for a moment after a pickup of a dozen. They'll give it to Sanders, and Rocket Sanders has blockers, and he is in. Touchdown, an 8-yard run for Rocket Sanders. All Arkansas in his first half. And over here at the Ole Miss sideline, they look bewildered.
And such a good block here by Luke Jones, the left tackle, climbing to the second level, plowing the way for Rocket Sanders.
3 defensive linemen.
Jefferson to throw and complete.
But whatever Sam has done, it's working.
3 100-yard gains for Landers. Here goes Rocket. Sanders in a dead sprint and to the end zone. He is in again. A 68-yard run.
Right guard, right tackle, Bo Limmer, Dalton Wagner. But watch Trey Knox right here, just kind of fake and then whoop, out of the way. That's going to take an extra defender out of the play as well. There you see the combo. 23, Kari Coleman has no idea exactly how to play that. He was manned up with the tight end, thought he was going to block. Then he exits. Nothing but green for Rocket Sanders.
Moments ago, Jordan, right in front of us, Jackson Dart was playing catch with the manager, trying to get loose, trying to get warm. It's like 28 degrees here right now. How hard is that? Does it make it more difficult when you're down 36?
You grab those, get those hands nice and warm.
Pick up a 4 on the completion, but an immediate hit. Pressure up the middle. Judkins patient, and he breaks free. Quinshon Judkins takes it outside the numbers before his ball came loose. It was taken away. Dwight McLeather just ripped it right out of his hands.
Wow. Still trying to fight off a defender. And McLeather goes straight for the football and rips it away from Judkins.
Dwight McLaughlin, the ultimate competitor, MVP of the Army All-American game, coming out of high school.
KJ Jefferson wanting to quiet the crowd a little bit. And Arkansas getting interesting there. Dart dancing around in the backfield, and they're all over him.
Coming on a little bit of a twist off the right side of that offensive line. Speed, power. He's got pass rush moves. I mean, think about it. He was a on the line of scrimmage pass rusher at Alabama. His versatility is just going to be so valuable.
High snap, Dart corrals it. And on the move, everybody's covered. He'll take it himself, and he gets somersaulted at the sideline.
Boy, I'm with you, Cole. I think they had an opportunity to go quarterback run there between the tackles. They sprint, dart out. He has the protection. Coverage is just too good on the outside. Nowhere to go with the football.
4th down for Ole Miss. Dart pulled it back. Fires and incomplete. Malik Heath lost his footing. We talked a little bit about the elements here at Razorback Stadium tonight. This is what should be grass, but Cole, that's like frozen tundra down there.
No, it's rock hard. You see no dirt flew up at all. How smooth those cleat marks are right there. You can see why Malik Heath lost his footing.
So he tried to get there, but just couldn't. Why do your gloves?
I feel like this is like ice right here. Some ice right here. Tell me how that tastes. Ice right there. Yeah.
Cole, I prefer just 1 cube.
Noted.
Wow. It's a nice big hole that opened up. And it's a pickup of 13. So from the 44 now. And they'll turn right back to the running game and a crawl forward for Dubinion. Swan will check up at the 1. Oh. I'm going to say it's at about the 3. That was beautiful. They played in saloons back then. Hole for Sanders. Here's what I was alluding to. Second player in the last quarter century, 200 rush yards and 3 rushing touchdowns versus a ranked opponent. The only other one was a man who wore number 5, Darren McFadden. You think about how good this Arkansas running game was.
That just opened, Lane's going to be able to walk into, but he's already built something here in Oxford and already been able to prove that he can replace roster members and he can go out and win football games. So through the portal, through recruiting, and he's going to put up points. Now, it's an Auburn program that hadn't scored a lot of points in recent memory.
And just a roller.
Worm burner.
Well, right to Arkansas. Hey, let's talk about Bumper Poole just a minute. I mean, here's a guy who set the school record for tackles. He's coming off the field now. Team captain. He is Captain America here in Northwest Arkansas. 21 double-digit tackle games. There's some love with Coach Shearer.
And I tell you, every college football coach in America would want a guy like Bumper Poole right now. Every single one of them.
Is that all that mattered tonight?
That's all that mattered. Get the win, senior night. Can't ask for anything else.
Now you can get emotional, all right? You get under a minute, so you can let the emotions take over, or no?
No, I'm going to suck in the joy of winning first.
Before I let you go, this coaching staff, Mikey Shearer, Barry Oldham, Sam Pittman, what have they meant to you in your playing career?
Everything. They changed the entire program around from where we started to go out here on senior night, beat Ole Miss, team that's, 11 in the country. Can't beat it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that really changed the complexion of this game early.
116 penalty yards.
Oh. They're going to have 2 guys over 200 yards rushing.
Jeez.
And lose the game.
Let's go talk to Sam Pittman.
All right. Arkansas is bowl eligible. The clock is 000. Not only that, but they knocked off a ranked team at home on senior day.
This is a bit surprising. Arkansas and Ole Miss, KJ Jefferson to Matt Landers, 23-yard strike.
And it was surprising early on. Arkansas's offense was on fire and their defense is playing well.
Like KJ's had an up and down season. He's been banged up quite a bit, but when he's in there, this Woo Pig offense completely different.
And they were just on fire early. Exploded out to a huge first half lead.
21-6 now. Raheem Sanders. Boy, did this kid have a game.
Yeah, he really did. And when you look at what Sanders did with the 232 yards rushing, the 3 touchdowns, but Ole Miss had a couple running backs that had a heck of a game too. They just couldn't score points.
Yeah, this is a bad taste to have in your mouth. Ole Miss heading into the Egg Bowl.
It really is. Ole Miss turned it over 3 times. Like you said, they had 2 backs over 200 yards. We had 3 running backs over 200 yards in this game, but it was all Arkansas from start to finish.
42-27. What a win. I'm going Raheem Sanders, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Woo Pigs beat down of Ole Miss. He deserves it.
Fayetteville, the side of the Razorbacks. They got to get one more win. They got to go to Missouri next week, so they got to take care of business either there or here against Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. And folks, if you like running the football, this was your game. And KJ Jefferson, we know, can do it. He looks fine, right? The little gallop, the skip after he takes a shot below the waist, good for him. He seems healthy. We like it. Jefferson, touchdown pass. Matt Lane.
This is where he was big. Inside of the red zone, they went man to man. He recognized it and found the one-on-one and had perfect ball placement.
And then just running the ball, right? Raheem, Rocket, Sanders, just getting his day started. He went for 231 yards, a career best, and 3 scores, and KJ letting loose for Landers for a second time.
I love Landers down in this part of the field. He's become their go-to guy. He's got length over the last 4 ball games. He's been targeted a bunch, averaging 100 yards a game. Didn't put up a bunch of yards, but had 2 big touchdowns early to set the tone.
That was a successful Willie Mays style catch.
No question.
By the way, right?
Yeah.
And then Keytron Jackson Jr. Yeah, we don't hear much about him necessarily, but again, they've got guys, and KJ's finding them.
Yeah, you don't, but you got a healthy KJ tonight against Ole Miss, and you could tell, he was playing at a different level. He was distributing the ball perfectly. A lot of his balls had a lot of touch on them.
Yeah.
He was finding the open man, and that allowed this run game to be open, and we're going to see how the run game developed as the night went on.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket just went 18 of those 20 yards without getting a hand on him. And here's some more. Again, exploding.
Like a track meet.
Yeah, through the line of scrimmage. You get 24 carries for 232, a 9.7-yard average. Ole Miss had 2 200-yard rushers, Quinshon Judkins and Zach Evans, both over. There were 3 200-yard rushers in this game. Arkansas gets the win, despite giving up over 700 yards to the Ole Miss Rebels. I like a defensive guy. You're looking at this, probably scratch your head. Somebody stopped the run. Nobody could, but Arkansas gets the win.
Yeah, they got the win, and you got to give a lot of credit to their offensive line. I thought the O-line played amazing. And when you look at the highlights, if you go back and you rewind the tape, every highlight was the same thing. It was zone read, whether or not if KJ was running the ball or he passed it off, or even at times finding the one-on-one going deep. Look, this guy is a difference maker. We talked about it before the show. His presence alone makes the other 10 guys that much better, and that's the value that he brings when he steps onto the field.
Yeah, and part of it is what Sam Pittman said earlier in the week, and he was asked about KJ Jefferson and his availability for this week, and he said, we just need to know if he's going or not going. And what people don't realize, CD, is that when you know your starting quarterback is going to be able to play and be healthy, it impacts everything. It impacts the protections. It impacts the run game. It impacts what the offensive coordinator is going to call because he knows that guy is going to be there. It impacts how you practice that week, and also defensively, which I know you're going to hit. It impacts how you play defense. You can play defense free because you know that you got to go on the other side of the football that's going to have long drives, that's going to score touchdowns, and take the pressure off of you.
Yeah, no doubt. KJ's fun to watch, but, we showed that whole highlight there for a minute or whatever it was. Not a single offensive highlight for Ole Miss, and there were a lot of them. They had 700-plus yards of total offense. Wow. But I'm going to talk about Arkansas's defense, which really doesn't sound like something you would want to talk about in that situation. But what is good defense in this day and age of offensive proliferation? Good defense is takeaways, and good defense is red zone defense. Arkansas had 3 takeaways on the evening, and they were able to hold that offense from Ole Miss on 5 red zone trips to just 16 points, whereas Arkansas had 28 points down there on 4 trips. That's the difference in the ball game. The defense certainly didn't look great in the stat sheet, but where it mattered the most, keeping them out of the end zone, they were really successful today.
And you think about it, Arkansas is winning this game 35-6 at halftime. And so they had already taken Ole Miss out of the football game. And while we've seen this in the past with Ole Miss, if they're unable to throw the football, if you take the running game away, which they didn't take the running game away in totality, but in that first half, they were able to score points, Arkansas was, and put Ole Miss in a predicament for the second half of their game.
And they are going bowling. They don't have to win at Missouri. They want to win at Missouri, but Arkansas again going bowling yet again under Sam Pittman with this 6th win. Second straight year, the loser of this game, Arkansas Ole Miss, goes over 600 yards. How about that? And outgains the winner. Ole Miss went for 703. Nobody could stop the run. What was the difference, though, for Arkansas?
We've talked about this recently, right? What does good defense look in this day and age of offensive-dominated football? Good defense is creating turnovers and stops in the red zone. That's exactly what happened.
You look at the score number and not the yardage number, right?
So 3 turnovers. They're able to take the ball away 3 times. Arkansas doesn't turn it over once. And then down in the red zone, 5 trips down there, and they only come away with 16 points, where Arkansas gets down there 4 times and gets touchdowns in each of those trips. So that's the difference in the ball game. Only a couple teams in college football can play defense like Georgia, but for everybody else that's in these battles of offensive proliferation, it's about timely defense in the red zone and getting turnovers.
Yeah, and it's about starting fast. I mean, when you look at it, you mentioned the yardage, but Arkansas was winning 35-6 at halftime. And so that game got away very quickly. And you look at these run numbers. Quinshon Judkins, 214 yards rushing. Sanders, 232, 3 touchdowns. But the game started off as a passing game with KJ Jefferson and getting those 3 touchdowns really early. That put Ole Miss at a deficit where they had to try to get back in the game. And what we've seen over the season is when you make Ole Miss have to throw the football, they seem to struggle. Although they're able to run the football, it was too little too late, even though they had some tremendous numbers in doing so.
Yeah, and just Arkansas, KJ Jefferson, I just thought his presence. We talked about it before the game even started. What was going to be the difference? KJ Jefferson is back. How his guys responded, it was a sense of calmness. He was poised, and he led his team down the field consistently, not necessarily by passing, but by his presence alone, making the defense playing 2 guys when they always knew they were going to hand it off.
You mentioned Judkins and Sanders over 200. Zach Evans ended up over 200 as well. Good. I'm going to ask Stewie to see if he can get this.
Video game,
or somebody in Bristol, if anybody's watching in Bristol. When has there ever been 3 200-yard rushers in an SEC football game? It seems like this potentially is an all-time first that we've seen this. Unreal.
I can't remember one. Maybe.
All right, 42-27. Arkansas gets the win. All right.